Hello everyone. So friends, in our previous lecture we saw that how we can create a dynamic test using @test factory annotation, and we saw a simple dynamic test. So friends, here we also discussed that this is not a proper dynamic test because if we want to perform any other asserts on string helpers reverse method, we need to add more assert equals here. So it behaves like a normal test. So in this lecture we'll see that how we can create a proper dynamic test which actually returns collection of dynamic tests. So here we create a test factory method, and let's say the return type we provide is collection of dynamic test, and the method name we give is dynamic test from collection. We'll import collection from java.util. So friends, in our previous slide we discussed that this test factory should either return a single dynamic node or any other collection of dynamic tests which can be of type collection, stream, iterable, iterator, array. So here we are seeing the demonstration of collection type, and we'll also try to make this @test factory method to be more dynamic. So friends, here we will test the reverse method only. So what we can do is, so here in order to run the multiple dynamic test which could be dynamic to test string helper reverse method, what we first do is we'll first create a list of input string which we will pass to our reverse method. So here we'll create the list of string. We'll give it a name as input list. We'll import the list from java.util, and let's say we create a method which return us back the input list. And here what we do is we simply return a simple list of strings such as so let's say we are returning three strings such as race, mom and dad. And after creating the input list, what we do is we create, let's say, output list. So here we are creating one more method as create output list. And here we'll simply return the reverse of these strings. So for race it would be ECAR, for mom it will be mom, and for dad it will be dad only. So friends, here what we are doing is whatever this reverse method will return, we'll assert it based on this output list, that we expect that when we pass the input list such as race, mom and dad, it should return its reverse, something ecar, mom and dad. So friends, from this method we need to return a collection of dynamic tests. So here what we do is we basically create a collection of dynamic tests We'll import array list. And let's say we finally return the dynamic tests. But here we need to provide a code where we can take this input list, which will produce the actual output, and then we'll compare it with the output list. So here what we do is we simply provide a for loop. So we are iterating over this input list one by one with I is equal to 0 till I is less than input list dot size. So in the first step what we do is we get the first input from input list, which is nothing but we do get of I, and then we get the output from the output list. So this output will be corresponding to whatever the input we are sending to our string helper reverse method. Now after getting the input and output, what we do is we create dynamic test. So here we create a dynamic test based on the syntax what we discussed here, that we can create a dynamic test using this static method present in dynamic test class. So what I will do, I'll simply copy this part and I've pasted it here. So friend, as this is running in for loop, it will create that many dynamic tests whatever size this input list has. So here what we do is the display name we provide is dynamic test for reverse, where let's say input and the executable what we provide is that would be our output that we are expecting, that whatever the string helper will return by taking as input, it should return this output. So friend, with each iteration a new dynamic test will be created, and here what we can do is we can simply add this dynamic test to our collection of dynamic tests, and finally we can return the dynamic tests from this method. So friend, if I run the test case now, so here you can see the dynamic test ran 3 times, one with input race, then mom, and then dad. So friend, here you can see this is a proper dynamic test where let's say if you want to provide one more test, what we can do is we can simply add. So this would be our output, and it's a reverse of test. So we are simply adding a new parameter here, and we are not changing our dynamic test. So if I run it again, so here you can see now it ran for the test as well, and we didn't change anything in our code. So friend, here we saw this create input list, and we simply provided the values here itself in this test. Now what also we can do here is, in this create input list and output list, we can simply write the code which can read these values from let's say a CSV file or any external file, so that when new scenario comes up, we don't even modify the test, we simply add it to let's say our CSV or any other file. So friend, this was the dynamic test demonstrating how we can return a collection of dynamic tests and we saw how we can implement a proper dynamic test. So friends, in our upcoming lecture, we'll see the other types of collections which can help us in creating this dynamic test. I hope you like this video. Thanks, have a nice day.